discuss AST 2, right? We'll first begin with incest taboo. Incest taboo is very easy question. I don't think you will need a lot of discussion here. You have question papers? Yes. So first, define incest taboo. Many students had difficulty in giving the correct definition of incest taboo. I don't know why that's a problem. What is incest taboo definition? It's a rule which prohibits, first, the key word should be rule, because incest taboo is essentially a rule which prohibits sexual intercourse or marriage between some categories of kin, some or closely, but you should use the word some, that is better. And then you talk about to what extent it is universal. Incest within nuclear family is universal. Incest outside nuclear family is cultural, isn't it? Within nuclear family, incest taboo is universal. That is, it is found to be there in every society. But outside nuclear family, incest taboo is cultural. That is, in some cultures, it is there only to nuclear family. You can marry cousins. In some, not even cousins also. South India, cousin marriage is allowed. North India, not allowed. West, not allowed again. So, nuclear family is universal. Outside nuclear family is cultural. And then give exceptions. Some are missing exceptions. The only exceptions to incest taboo are some royal families of Egypt. You also see in some ancient Inca empire, the royal families, they practiced incestuous marriages. That's it. And then explain the major theories for incest taboo. Some do not write all the theories. All the 5 must be there. And you must give more emphasis to in the inbreeding theory. All 5 theories with the respective thinkers. Some are writing in their own words, no keywords, no thinkers' names. For example, if you're talking about childhood familiarity theory, we should mention the institution of excuse me, kibbutz. So this is kibbutz. This is how a kibbutz looks, where all the youngsters are raised together. This is how children are raised in an Israeli kibbutz, one next to the other. Then family disruption theory, that is to avoid friction in family. Cooperation theory, that is to form greater alliances. That is another theory put forward to explain incest. So you can write all these theories and finally say the best explanation for why incest is now universal is inbreeding theory, because inbreeding theory explains incest from a biological point of view, and it is backed by modern developments in genetics. Clear? Next. Culture relativism and subsequent violation of human rights. So first, define what is culture relativism. So on the screen, I shared the definition. What is it? The attitude that society's customs and ideas should be viewed within the context of that society's problems and opportunities. What is ethnocentrism? This is the attitude that other societies' customs and ideas can be judged in the context of one's own culture. So when you are discussing culture relativism, please make sure you discuss both culture relativism as well as ethnocentrism. And whenever we discuss culture relativism, Franz Boas, because he is one of the first people to think in terms of culture relativism. Franz Boas proposed this idea of culture relativism in anthropology. And then the question is subsequent violation of human rights. 1 minute. Subsequent violation of human rights. Hello? Okay. And then the subsequent violation of human rights. So what is the issue here? When you talk about this, you must discuss the ideas and work of one specific anthropologist. Who is the anthropologist? Elizabeth Zackenter. Elizabeth Zackenter. Where is she? I took this extract from Member and Number. Yes. So Elizabeth Zackenter is a person who raised this debate. So what is this debate? So what does culture relativism mean? It means that each culture should be judged in its own. But what is a principle of human rights? Principle of human rights says that regardless of which culture you belong to, everybody has to abide by some universal principles called as human rights. So cultural relativism is supporting diversity. Human rights is supporting not diversity, but everybody following common principles. So the debate is, in the name of cultural relativism, can we justify some practices like mutilation? For example, in Algeria, there was a study in Algeria. Some women were raped and publicly killed because apparently they violated some Islamic law. Can you now say it is cultural relativism? Or in some countries, we see mutilation of genitals because somebody has committed a rape. Can we say yes, it is cultural relativism? Let's say ISIS practices beheading publicly. Now, can we say cultural relativism? That is a question. So, to what extent can we accept cultural relativism? To that, Elizabeth Zackenter says, no, human rights should not be seen as opposing cultural relativism. Instead, we can think, in general, we can accept cultural relativism, but no culture should fall below a certain level. The level below which no culture can fall is human rights. If somebody is violating human rights, then we cannot justify that by cultural relativism. Human rights is the minimum standard for everybody. After that, you have your own practices, fine. But if your practice is violating human rights, then you cannot say, I am culture relativist, my culture is this, I will live like this. For example, if you have cannibalism, where you eat others, kill people and eat, can you say it is cultural relativism? Or if you have headhunting in Nagas, can Nagas come and say, it is our tradition, we will go and kill others and behead them? That is not possible because it is violating human rights. So, what does Elizabeth Zackenter finally concluded? She is saying that Universal Declaration of Human Rights does impose uniformity. Rather, it is a floor below which no society is supposed to fall. So, within the broad framework of human rights, you can have cultural relativism. But you cannot say if something is violating human rights. For example, ethnic cleansing. Some countries treat minorities very badly. In some countries, women are treated very badly. Like if you go to Afghanistan, they will impose a lot of restrictions on women and treat them very badly. And they will say, it is our Islamic version of Islamic law. What, can you accept it? Can you support it? No. That is the viewpoint here. So you can say, it is not against human rights, but human rights is the minimum standard that any civilized society is supposed to maintain. Over and above this, we can always support the cultural relativist view. Clear? Next, status and role. First, clearly define what each of them are. What is status? What is role? Status is a position. Role is a set of behaviors that are expected from that position. For example, status. The district collector can be a status. Role is how he is supposed to carry himself. Or high court judge, status. Role is the behavior. He is supposed to carry himself well. He is not supposed to, for example, hear a case that is discussed by that the son is representing or daughter is representing. That is, what are the behaviors you expect from his role? Or status as a father. Now, what are the behaviors that you expect from a person who is father? Take care of children, take care of your spouse, and earn some livelihood. All of that are the role behaviors you expect from a particular status. And Ralph Linton, when you're discussing status, please quote Ralph Linton. He said status can be of two types: ascribed, achieved. Now discuss what each of them means. In simple societies, you have more of ascribed status. As society becomes complex, we have more of achieved status. And then another thinker that most of us don't use in anthropology is R.K. Merton. He gave two concepts. One is called status set, another is called role set. What is status set and role set? R.K. Merton says a given status can have multiple roles. A given status can have multiple roles. For example, if you are a doctor, or if you are, for example, a teacher in a university, what are the different roles you can have as a teacher? You can be a HOD, you can be guide to some research scholars, you can also be a principal, you can also be a dean, you can be a warden, or you can yourself be a junior to a senior professor, isn't it? So different roles come with that status. All those different roles which come with a particular status are called role set. Likewise, one particular role can have multiple statuses. Those are called as status set. Just like one status can have multiple roles and they are called role sets, sometimes one role can have multiple statuses and all those are called as status set. So this is how R.K. Merton described this issue. And when you have different roles, sometimes that leads to role conflict. Role conflict in society. Discuss all of this as in status and role. That's it. Next question is about community and association. So most of you did not have content for this. So in the slides, I gave a lot of content. Please borrow the content from slides. Just first, fundamentally, define what is community and define what is association. What is community? Community is a set of people who share a common residence. So what is an example of community? Village. Village is community. Caste is not community. Village is a community. For our colony is a community. You have gated communities, for example. So those are examples of communities. And here you can quote McIver and Page and their view. Community is a group of people who live together and so that they share not ties as a whole, but they have whole set of common interests. Not just living together, but they also share common interests. That is community. And then these are the broad characteristics for a community. It is not a legal body. And community generally has permanent nature because your residence is fixed. They have completeness of life, close relations, common culture, and a sense of we feeling. And the most important, of course, is having a definitive geographical area. Then describe what do we mean by association. What do we mean by association? Association is an organization formed for the collective pursuit of same interests or set of interests with members share. So what is the defining aspect of association? It is common. Why is this not writing? For association, it is group of people who have a common interest or a common purpose, like reading club, sports club is an association. Or you can have residents welfare association. What is this association? These are a group of people who come together to take care of the common colony. So something that unites them, or you can have, for example, employees association who work in an organization. What is their common purpose? To take care of the welfare of the, or act as the pressure group for the employees. So that is what we mean by association. And here, these are the three attributes or characteristics of association. That is, there must be a group of people and they should be organized and they should be bonded by a common purpose. You can have lawyers association. You can have teachers association. You can have doctors association. These are some examples of associations. ICMR, FICCI, Rotary Club, YMCA. They are all examples of different associations in our society. And then you can talk about the characteristics of association. It requires at least two individuals and it has specific aims and objectives. It is always a result of deliberate action and membership is voluntary. Unlike community where membership is compulsory, in the association, the membership remains voluntary, which means you can always change your membership and shift from one community to one association to another. So members can join the association as per their needs. That is association. So you can take all this content from here. The different first definition of what each of them means, their features and their characteristics. That's it. That is association. And you can say as society moves from again simple to complex and as the role of kinship is reducing, the community sense is weakens, and the sense of association increases. People now shift from compulsory organizations like villages and kinship to voluntary associations such as uh, residential associations or occupational associations or hobby associations. That's it. Next, culture and civilization. This is again very easy, so I won't take a lot of time to discuss this. Most of you wrote this well. First, define culture. You can take the definition of E.B. Taylor, or you can take the definition of culture given by Ember and Ember and discuss the features or attributes of culture. One value addition that I found is this is called as the barrel model of culture. This is called barrel model of culture. You can draw this to show the different levels of culture. This is one is called infrastructure level, social structure level, third is called superstructure level. These are according to this barrel model. These are the three different levels or aspects of culture. And then discuss the broad features of culture. If you have, you can draw a sundry diagram showing the features. Culture is learned, culture is shared, culture has variation, and culture goes through change. What are the features? It is learned, shared, it has variation, and it goes through change. And culture is also adaptive. These are the 5 features of culture. And then define civilization. What is civilization? Civilization is a stage in culture. What is civilization? Stage in culture. And what exact stage is it? It is a stage in culture where you develop urbanization with some kind of letters written or development of script and writing. The stage in culture where you have development of script, writing, and where there is urban society, there is emergence of towns and cities, that kind of culture is called as civilization. For example, we don't call IVC as Indus Valley culture, we call it as Indus Valley civilization. And then draw a table giving features of culture and civilization that most of you wrote, what civilization is, what culture is, and so on. Next, we'll focus on 6th. This I'm surprised again, after repeated discussions also, many did not write good enough answers for this. So whenever we discuss types of marriage, it's a very simple rule. There is, don't write some types based on number, types based on rule, types based on something else, nothing like that. Types is only based on number. So types of marriage is based on number of spouses, simple, or how many can you marry, that's it. So just whenever they ask you types of marriage, just discuss the, if you write, see, some of you think that what is there, I will write types based on number, I will also write other things because anyway I'm writing this. But don't think the examiner will look at you positively. He will look at your answer as confused answer. So if the answer is A, let's say this is answer, you should write only this. You can't say this is the answer anyway, I'll write this, I'll also write something else. This is anyway there inside this, no? But the examiner will think, if the student has clarity, he will only write this. He won't write this. If he wrote this also, it means doesn't have clarity. And he wants me to choose what is the right one. Then he will give you less marks. So just write what is asked. In a descriptive exam, writing what is not asked is a sign of ignorance. Is a sign that you've not understood things. So don't assume that anyway I've written what is asked. Let me also add some decoration. No marks for decoration, only marks for content. So these are the different marriage types. Simple: monogamy, polygamy, polygyny, polyandry, group marriage. For everything, first definition. For every type, first define, draw diagram, draw subtypes, discuss subtypes, and give explanation for each type. and then discuss. That's it. For each of these, especially for group marriage, you won't get many. For the other three, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each of these 5 things must be addressed. Then you will get good marks. So what is monogamy? Being married to one person at one time. You have 2 types: serial monogamy, non-serial monogamy, or straight monogamy. Draw a diagram for each of them. And then where do you find monogamy? It is found mostly in complex or industrial societies. Then polygyny, similarly defined, it is being married to more than one woman at the same time. It is the most widely practiced marriage in the world. Draw the diagram for polygyny. Subtypes: fraternal, non-fraternal. Explanation: different reasons for polygyny, because of more number of women over men, or because of higher age of marriage for men, or because of high male mortality because of warfare, or because of high incidence of disease in a society, and all that. And then you can also add to polygyny features. Polygyny can involve jealousy. Polygyny can involve mechanisms. Sometimes women can favor polygyny because it reduces labor and you can share different kinds of work. Then polyandry. Polyandry is being married to more than one woman, one man at the same time. Examples of polygyny: many Indian tribes have it. Then polyandry, definition, diagram, subtypes: fraternal, non-fraternal polyandry. Where do you find polyandry? This is how polygyny looks. So this is one family, by the way. So how many wives does the man have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 wives with their respective children. So this is one big, huge family. This is polygyny, and this is example of Himalayan polyandry or polyandry in Tibet. One man, one woman married to multiple husbands, and discuss the reasons. It happens because of shortage of women, or it is a mechanism in which men adapt to resource scarcity. That's it. Give examples of polyandry. And then group marriage is very rare. Draw the diagram and give the rare examples of, yes, of polygynandry or group marriage. That's it. No big difficulty here. Next question is different types of social stratification, suitable examples. Even here you went wrong. So in social stratification, why are you writing all unnecessary content? Stratification based on age, class, or all that nonsense. Just define social stratification. What is stratification? First, definition. That is, it is layering of society or organizing members of society into clear-cut strata or clear-cut layers. Then different types of social stratification. According to Ember and Ember, we only have 3 types. 1, explain each of them. 1 is egalitarian societies. 2 is rank societies. 3 is class societies. And under class, within class, you can have closed systems and open systems. Closed class systems are called as caste. The more closed class kind of systems are called as caste systems. So here in this diagram, we showed what each of them means. What are egalitarian societies? Egalitarian societies are one where there is no inequality based on economic resource, no power inequalities, and no prestige inequalities, and different examples. And I also defined what do we mean by economic resources, what do we mean by power, and what do we mean by prestige. So you can define each of them. So what is egalitarian? All people of a given age, sex category have equal access to all the 3. So there is no inequality in whatever direction. Then what is rank societies? What happens in rank societies? Here, no only status inequality, prestige. There is no inequality in terms of wealth and power, but there can be inequality in terms of prestige. Somebody can have higher status than others. You find rank societies in chiefdom. Chief has higher prestige or rank than everybody else. So Trobriand Islanders is a classic example of rank society. Then class society. In class society, you have inequalities or you have differences in all the three parameters: economic resources, power, and prestige. Class societies can be open or closed. Open societies are generally class societies. There is mobility. Sometimes mobility is very difficult and rare, and such societies are called as caste societies. In caste societies, mobility is very, very difficult. So explain what is caste, and then you can talk about if there is space. In this question, there may not be space. Then you can talk about we should critically evaluate. So talk about positives and negatives of social stratification. Talk about the positives as well as negatives. So positives means social stratification helps allocate. It's a way of dividing work. It's a way of allotting status. And it's a way to encourage members to work harder. That can be social stratification's positives. What can be negatives? Under negatives, you can write human's critic. Human, or under positives, you can write Davis and Moore. These are two people who supported society and its stratification. They said stratification is good because, like we said, it allocates work. It is a way of encouraging merit, hard work, and a way of allocating differential rewards. Under negative, you can give Tuman's critic. Tuman critic stratification. He said stratification to allocate work and all of that, you need not. So Tuman said stratification is not the same as inequality. Stratification is much more. It is dividing people and condemning them to lower positions. Inequality means different people get different rewards based on their abilities. But stratification means not just allotting different rewards. Stratification means condemning somebody to lower position forever. So, and sometimes stratification may not have mobility like caste system. And stratification can involve poverty and lower access to basic human goods to those at the lower level. That is the negative of stratification. So overall, you can conclude by saying that as long as we have differential rewards along with scope for mobility, stratification is good. But when stratification becomes an end in itself and blocks mobility and blocks merit, then it is definitely bad. Next, define marriage and discuss universality. See, when defining marriage, please discuss the issues. Most of you are not able to handle this question. When you have to define marriage, please discuss the issues in definition. If you are short of time, you can at least, most important definitions are the definition given by notes and queries. He says marriage is a union between a man and a woman such that the children born to the woman are recognized as a legitimate offspring of both the parents. So this is one earliest definition proposed as early as 1951. You can skip Murdoch's definition if you don't have the space. And Westermarck's definition also. Then you can see Kathleen Gow also attempted a definition at marriage based on Nair society. And then say both these definitions had problems. Both these definitions had problems because first, it is looking at marriage in the sense that it must involve a man and a woman. They do not account for polygamy, and it does not talk about the nature of the union, sexual or economic union, and it does not talk about whether the bond is permanent or temporary. All of these are not addressed in the notes and queries definition. And Kathleen Gow's definition is too extreme because it is only customized for the Nair scenario where there is no one man, one woman bonding, and where childcare is not part of marriage relationship. So even Kathleen Gauss definition is not perfect. Hence, the ideal definition to work with is William Stephens definition. And then please, this is mandatory. You must discuss William Stephens definition. That is mandatory. So talk about William Stephens definition and say, despite this definition is very good, and yet even this can have some exceptions. And talk about these exceptions, or these are called as rare forms of exceptions, or these are also called as rare forms of marriage. So just discuss what these rare forms are. That is how you must discuss definition, please. You can't just write one definition and close the issue. Because the whole point is to discuss what are the challenges that exist in defining marriage in the first place. And then discuss universality. Then you have these four theories. Just discuss these four theories. First is gender division of labor, given by Murdoch. Prolonged infant dependency, again given by Murdoch. Sexual competition theory, given by Ralph Linton. And finally, the best theory to explain this issue is Ember and Ember's own theory, which talks about postpartum feeding requirement of the female as the factor that makes marriage nearly universal in all societies. Clear? Various forms of maid selection among Indian tribes. This is something must explain here. Just two things. In fact, three things. First, we should say who proposed this Mazumdar. According to Mazumdar, how many are there? 8 ways of acquiring maids. I shared a handout on the group in case somebody does not have content for this. I shared the handout of these 8 forms of marriage on the group. So discuss those 8 ways, and for each way you give proper example. That's it. One example at least will do. That's all. Otherwise, there is no concept here. It's a very simple and straightforward question. Then discuss the different marriage payments found across culture. Here again, it's not difficult, but I think most of you do not know what to write. So all the 5 must be covered. Most students do not write indirect dowry. Dowry as well as indirect. Totally you have 6 forms. Dowry plus indirect dowry. So look at this figure. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you can draw this figure, it will be even better. Perfect. And showing in which society, which kind of exchange do we see. So we have in total 6 systems. Most of you wrote the 5, that is bride price, bride, except indirect dowry, all the other 5 have been written in brief. Now, once you list out all the 6, you must discuss bride price and dowry in detail, because these two are significant. Bride price and dowry must be discussed in detail. That is missing. What do I mean by detail? I'll share the PPT, Amma. You can take from PPT. So when you say dowry, or let's say bride price, discuss its functions. Don't just say what it is, give example and leave it. Discuss the functions of bride price and the functions of dowry. What is the functions of bride price? Why does bride price practice exist? It can be a mechanism through which women's important. Where do you find bride price? It is found in societies where functions plus in which societies do we find? Bride price is found in societies where women contribute more to the economy, especially it is found in matrilineal societies which have horticultural economies. And what is the function of bride price? It's a way in which, for example, women's contribution is acknowledged. It's a way in which the family which is losing the woman is compensated for the loss of a valuable worker. And bride price can also be a way in which it's actually a security for marriage, because if the it makes sure that men do not casually leave their wives. And bride price can also be a mechanism through which the parents of both sides share the wedding expenses, because by paying, generally the woman's family organizes the wedding, and by paying them bride price, the man's family is taking a share of the wedding expense. That is bride price. Likewise, dowry. In which societies do you find dowry? It is found in societies which have very little contribution for women, and which have stratification, strong sense of stratification and inequality, and where monogamy is a serious norm. Monogamy, stratification with strong, where women's contribution to economy is very less. These three characters are necessary for dowry. What is the function of dowry? Dowry is a kind of early inheritance. It is serving as a security to women if the marriage fails or if the husband is deceased. And dowry can also be a mechanism through which the young couple set up their new household. So all of this you can write. So definition, what societies experience this, and then brief, in case of dowry, add a brief note on the Indian scenario. In case of India, dowry became very, very notorious and infamous because of bride burning and dowry related harassment. Because of these practices, in countries like India, dowry became a very, very controversial issue, and it is seen as a social evil, which eventually led to it being banished through a dowry prohibition legislation. Right? That's all. So that concludes our discussion of test 2 as well. So AST 1 and AST 2 both have been discussed. Next week we will have AST 5 and 6, and the week after that we will have 7 and 8. So every week we will have discussion of 2 tests until we finish the backlog, and then we will have a fortnightly discussion, because we will try to merge 2 tests together and discuss them. All right. With that, we'll close this session. Thank you.